morning, everybody, and welcome. I'm from Penn State Extension. My name is Cynthia Pollich, and I work in the family well-being team and more on the mental wellness side of things. Today we're going to talk about, is your bucket empty, and is it difficult to share with others? So that's what we will be talking about a little bit today. So as Penn State, we're in 67 counties. We're educators and associates and faculty across the state of Pennsylvania. And we live alongside and work alongside of you. And we have a vested interest in ensuring that our products and our services help better the communities. So we're going to talk a little bit about self-care and what is self-care. And self-care is asking yourself what you need mentally, spiritually, or emotionally, and making sure that you get it. It is not inherently indulgent or selfish, and it is necessary. We need to take care of ourselves. And as adults, we're solely responsible for managing our health and our emotions and our personal growth. So self-care is a set of practices that allow us to accomplish this. And we'll examine some self-care tips and tricks during this session. Not exactly sure where to talk. So a little bit, a do-it-yourself to mental health. And this was written by Rick Hansen. And he said, I'm a real believer in DIY mental health. And what are the factors that make the most difference? There's 3 factors that make a difference, in our mental health. And that is, loving and warm-heartedness. Who do we love? Who loves us back? Whether it is somebody that you're living with or a pet that you have. To know, to be aware, or to be mindful. And mindful just means, being in the present, being aware of what's going on, being aware of how you're feeling and how the people around you are feeling. And then growing, learning that leads to lasting change for the better. What things are you going to learn? I hope that today, after this presentation, you learn at least one new thing about yourself and one new skill that you can go away with. So we're here to talk about self-care, but stress is such a real part of sometimes our everyday life. So we're going to just look at what stress is and how do we know when we're feeling stressed. And what are some of those physical, mental, and emotional or social signs about being stressed? So, stress is a body's method of reacting to challenges. And stress is our response to anything that threatens our survival. And it can be physical, emotional, financial, or any survival that's important to us. And for farmers, it may be the survival of the animals that are dependent on the farmer itself. So when you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling stressed, where do you feel stress? How do you feel stress? How do you know you're feeling stress?
Feel free to pipe up and just shout out your answers. This is going to be a very relaxed day. So.
Relaxed, interactive if you want it to be. Well, we'll talk about how we feel and how our bodies feel in just a minute. When we're excited about something and we feel that anticipation, which helps us get mentally and physically ready for a task, that's an okay stress. That's good stress. And it's what keeps us busy and going during busy times like planting and harvesting. But when we suffer too much stress and it lasts over a long period of time, that's called distress. And distress, prolonged distress, can result in physical or emotional problems. And in many rural areas, a high percentage of visits to family physicians are due to stress-related illnesses. So I asked you, what were some of those signs and symptoms? And we know that signs is what I can see in you. So if you are feeling stressed, I may see that outward signs of that stress. And symptoms are what you feel that I might not be able to see. So some of those physical things that you can see up on that screen, rapid heartbeat, inability to relax, tired, lack of energy, either sleeping too much or not sleeping enough, crying spells that you might not even know, what brought on this crying spell. Withdrawing from other people, sometimes use of drugs or alcohol, and psychological effects, that constant sadness, that anxiety, sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's that feeling of helplessness or hopelessness, sometimes you're just more irritable, and a lot of people say when they're really stressed, it's really hard to concentrate and remember what they're supposed to be doing, even if they're tasks that you do all the time. So, what we're really here today is to talk about what can we do when we're really stressed. Some of those things we can't change. We can't necessarily change what is stressing us. We can't change the weather. We can't change the amount of money we get from the work that we're producing, and we can't change what it costs to keep that work going. But really, really important is we don't want you to forget to take care of yourself, because taking care of yourself, you're the most important part of that farm. So when we talk about self-care and what you can do for your body and mind, as a female farmer, we know that there are two halves, but those two halves are part of the whole. So when we talk about mental health, and we talk about how it fits in with self-help, mental health covers the whole of the human being. If you don't have mental health, then there's no health. And this doctor offers 5 simple ways to keep our body and mind healthy. And often when we think of mental health, we're thinking about that body-mind that can't be separated, that body-mind relationship. So his 5 suggestions are: pay attention to our diet, eat healthy food, make good choices, don't substitute food for sadness. Don't fill yourself up with food if you're feeling sad. Come up with a healthy way to do that. Engage in routine exercise, even if it's mild sedentary routines can be harmful. So engaging in exercise, even if you work all day on the farm, before you start your day or after your day, do some exercise. Exercise helps that cortisol level, which is elevated when you are stressed, when you are worried, and so by exercising, by taking a long hike, by riding a bike, by jogging in place and touching your toes and using some of those cans of vegetables to lift up and down, getting good sleep. It is the quality of your sleep that matters, not necessarily the quantity or the hours of sleep. So getting really restful sleep, doing things before bed to support good health hygiene, good sleep hygiene. Keeping away from harmful substances such as nicotine, alcohol, drugs, and excessive caffeine. We want to not use those as a substitute for our feelings. We want to talk about our feelings. We want to at least acknowledge them in ourselves. When I was driving here, I got really anxious because this huge 18-wheeler with all those cars on it decided that he'd rather be in my lane than his lane. And, that anxiety and what does it do? I forgot how to drive on the highways because we've been home for so long. And really, really important, stay socially connected. Join some kind of group, be part of an organization. That social connectedness is the number one thing that rates highest on self-care. So who do you get together with? Do you get together with some girlfriends and sit around and do a craft or knit? Or we always used to get together. I'm from New York City, if you couldn't tell from my accent, but two other of my girlfriends and I would get together, and we'd always meet at somebody else's house. And what we would do is we would always clean up one another's house. We'd help vacuum and dust and polish, and then we always did something fun, like learn how to decorate a cake or do a craft or something like that. Being socially connected really helps with our self-care. And you're going to say, when can I possibly do that? I'm a working mom, I have children, I'm away from them all day, but if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't do the best for taking.
I'd just like to add that we would all like to join the cleaning group.
You know what? It was just, we were all working, newly married, overwhelmed with, working full time and having, a place to take care of and a husband to take care of. And so absolutely, come along. I mean, I thought when I moved away out of New York, I think that was the thing that I missed is getting together once a week and just having someone help me polish my kitchen or finally put the pots away or, do that kind of stuff, that needs to be done, but we always put off doing. So absolutely. So strange question. Did you ever forget to take care of yourself? I can only see one or two people in the other room. But here, the three of us or four of us that are here, did you ever forget to take care of yourself? Do you take care of yourself? Maybe it's not that you forgot to do it, you've never done it. So, do you forget to take care of yourself? A little bit of Brian Andre says, there are days that I drop words of comfort on myself like fallen leaves to remember that it is enough to be taken care of by yourself. So those words of, I will use the word affirmation, those words of affirmation that you say to yourself. I didn't do a really good job at this, but next time I'll do better. I am loved by me. You have to love yourself if you want other people to love you. You need to take care of yourself. So thinking of those things with a little bit of attention to your own self-care, the fog will lift. Giving yourself 15 minutes a day. Carve out 15 minutes a day. Put it on your schedule where you have 15 minutes for yourself to just sit and have a cup of tea, or read a book, or chat with a friend, or pet your dog if you have one, pet your cat, I don't know. I'm from the city, so I even like to go pet your cow. When I see cows at these, the farm show or whatever, I just walk over to the cow and I just stand there and I just pet the calf or pet the cow if they'll let you get close enough. Just that really helps. feel better. Feel more connected to yourself and to the world around you. So be aware of how you're feeling and acknowledge it, right? It's okay. The feelings that you're having are okay feelings. Acknowledge those feelings. Don't just, push them aside. Don't let somebody tell you that your feelings aren't valuable or real. Your feelings are your feelings, and you have the right to feel them. How you act on them might be a different story. So if you're feeling really frustrated or angry, I'm not saying to deal with that by punching a wall. What I'm saying is finding a healthy way to deal with that frustration or anger. You'll delight or please delight in small pleasures, and nothing will seem quite as difficult as it did before. So when I was driving up, I live in southern Chester County, and for me, one of those small pleasures is to go past, I pass all farms, like all the way till I hit Lancaster. And all the little goats and sheep are all out on the farm. And for me, seeing those little goats and those little sheep bouncing around, that is a small pleasure. Seeing the sunshine after days of cloud is a pleasure. So it doesn't have to be something that you get, but another small pleasure for me. Now, I told you eat healthy and don't use food as a substitute for your feelings, but boy, a good piece of chocolate every once in a while, isn't that a neat small pleasure? And so like a car, you need to keep yourself tuned up, and you need to make sure that you don't need a complete overhaul, right? So if we do little things for ourselves every day, we won't get physically, emotionally, and mentally so broken down that then we have to be hospitalized. When we are super stressed, when we're not taking care of ourselves, there's a direct correlation with, how we are feeling and what gets out of whack, and, does that arthritis get worse, or does that stomach problem, if you feel that stress in your stomach all the time and you're not taking that 15 minutes for yourself. If you don't have 15 minutes, start with 5, and maybe some days you'll get up to a half hour or an hour where you can get together with a friend or do something just for yourself, take a hike or something like that. Incorporating a few self-care ideas into your day will help you keep in tune. So what is a self-care tip that you already do? That's something that you do every day already for yourself. Any answers in Reedsville?
I will start. I started walking a mile or two every day. Essentially, that was post stem cell transplant, so I had some coaching on making me do that. But I don't know if anybody else has anything they want to share or not.
About making an appointment to sit down and drink my coffee while it's hot.
Making an appointment to sit down and drink one's coffee while it's hot is
Absolutely. Drink that coffee when when it's hot. And taking a walk does a lot of good things, because we know the direct correlation between walking, being outside. It helps us not to be so nearsighted. We get to see far. It helps us breathe deeper. It is good exercise, so absolutely. And sitting down and drinking your coffee when it's hot. I watch people who drink coffee, and I'm amazed how many times they put it in the microwave. I'm like, it's 8 ounces. Why are you still microwaving that? Just sit down and drink your coffee. Give yourself grace to sit down and just have your cup of coffee and not feel guilty about all those other things you could be doing. Just give yourself those 5 minutes. Anybody here do something for self-care?
The Y has a restorative yoga class on Friday evenings and it's very relaxing. It's not strenuous. You kind of just sit there and do some light stretching, and I would call it meditative yoga. So you just kind of get to sit there for an hour.
Right.
Because it's on a Friday after evening, which is a nice way to kind of end the week. And it's really nice when I can remind myself to go.
Giving yourself an hour to sit on the floor with a bunch of other people, right? And just thinking about, now, how am I going to stretch my arms? Oh, just stretching my arms out. How good that feels, you know, like looking around like, oh, I guess we're all doing this okay. You know, I can stretch my arms out. And, you know, sometimes it is those little things during the day, you know, that we just stop what we're doing and touch your toes or try to touch your toes and stretching your arms, you know, out in front of you and then to the side and, you know, just, you know, do I wiggle them a little bit? You know, what can you do? That's self-care, right? Those are all positive things for self-care. So when we think of self-care for our mind, you can read these, and what thing is the thing that stands out for you? So I think there's like, I don't know, 10 of us total. I'd like everyone to just, after you read them, pick one of them and tell us which one you picked. I'm going to pick Read Still again to go first, just because you're all really small, and even with my glasses, I can barely see you, but what's
I'll
something
Okay.
Thank you.
I think scratching off a lurker on my to-do list, that is something I've been very mindful of lately. I've been making lists, and I read the book, Eat the Frog, you know, like getting that thing done that you've thought about usually takes less time than you thought about it. And it just feels so good to have it off the list. Yeah.
How successful we feel. Cross it off. Now I, you know, can go on to something else. Somebody else in the room.
If I get sent for parts or errands, I usually try to go one way and come another, just to different scenery.
Absolutely. Go a different way to get your errands done, whether it's when you're going or coming back.
I probably am good at, would be better if I fixed more small annoyances at my home that nag me, because I tend to think, well, doesn't anybody else see this? But
Absolutely. Those little things that you're looking around going, I'm the only one who sees that this needs a new screw or change a light bulb or, you know, whatever that is. Absolutely. Anybody? Go ahead.
we have one more.
I was just
Thank
gonna
you.
say changing the way I make decisions, but more so just like not allowing so much indecision and just making decisions, like you said about that task. Like just make the decision and then stick with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make that decision and just go with it, right? Absolutely. Good things. In this room.
I like to do a mini declutter because I live alone, and there are days that I swear there's other people in the house because I can't be. But even just, you know, like you'll throw some dishes in the sink, you know, a couple mugs, and then, you know, you're like, well, how did I put that many in there? So I just washing the dishes or cleaning off the counter where you gather everything, you plop the mail and don't look at it for 3 days.
Yeah, my favorite thing is just to do those mini declutters so that, like, now there are people living in my house, so when I get home, maybe all the decluttering I did at 5 o'clock this morning is not going to still be decluttered, but I felt good walking out the door because I decluttered, you know, off the mail that was brought in on Saturday that's still in the same place and stuff. How about you?
I like to pay complete attention to something you usually do on autopilot.
That's right. paying attention to what you do, that you normally would put on autopilot. Very, very good. Was your yoga part of this?
Sure. And I also would highlight the unplug for an hour. I really try to put my phone away after I'm done with work for the day. And I really notice the difference when I don't do that. I find that I have a really hard time falling asleep if I, for whatever reason, have my phone around and I'm still scrolling at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and if I am intentional about putting it away, physically not having it near me, I find that I have a lot more peace just in my brain. And the world didn't come to an end, and all was great.
That's right, it's all good, There are times like I put my phone on silent, and there are days when I'm like, wow, it's been a really quiet day. I didn't get any emails or anything, and then all of a sudden I realized, well, that was a good thing and a bad thing. Yes, I did get those emails, but my phone is just on silent, so, I'm probably,
One of the other ones on there that I think is important, especially for younger people, is the edit your social media feeds. There's so many on there that just show their perfect life. And, I started to notice that I was following some of them. I'm like, these people can't be this perfect. And I've kind of edited mine to follow the ones that they'll show you their perfect room and the perfect pictures and all, and they say, but over here in this room, and they show you it's a complete mess because everything they decluttered out there went in there. And they're real about it. They're like, yes, I have this room that looks like this because I get paid by sponsors and everything to have these things and look nice. But, in reality, and I think that's really important for people to realize that it's just one snapshot.
that's right. And those negative people, if there are people on your media feeds that something is happening. Say we're getting fuzzy. If people are always negative and they're down on everything and everybody around them is negative, you pick up on that negative feed. So be the positive person. My favorite thing is when I see a whole bunch of negative stuff. And I don't have a lot of social media feeds, but every once in a while I'll remember I have a Facebook account. And when I read all these people and all the negative things that are going around or on there, I will always put something positively affirming to, just get it out there to say, let's think of something positive instead of negative things. It's better for our mental health. So physically taking care of yourself. So that trigger point massage, that just, all you need is either a tennis ball or a baseball, some kind of ball. And wherever you're feeling really stressed, I often feel really, really stressed up near my shoulders. And so if you take that ball and you put that ball, now this great little stress ball might be just, or stress apple, might be just what you need, and you just put it up against the wall and you lean against that and you just move with that over that spot, that trigger point, that the spot, that knot, some people will say it is a knot, some of that is really, really, just using a ball. If it isn't a place like you have a spot in your calf that is really knotted up, or a spot, someplace that you can use that ball and just roll it over that spot. Doesn't take a long time to do that, but you will just feel that tension come out of those spots where your muscles are all tensed up. Epsom salt bath. So You know, when I saw this, I said, oh, that must be such an old-fashioned thing. I remember my grandmother talking about this. But then, and I have to read this to you, but Epsom salts with a little bit of essential oil. So you add the Epsom salts with a little bit of oil to your bath. And this may be a generic self-care suggestion, but man, oh man, does it work. The magnesium in Epsom salts takes about 20 minutes to be transdermally absorbed. That means your body is absorbing it. So take your time soaking. Magnesium does wonderful things to your body and mind. The powerhouse mineral is responsible for over 300 biochemical reactions in your body, from regulating your blood glucose levels to keeping your heart rate in check. And when it comes to sleep, magnesium helps decrease cortisol, which is that stress hormone that I've mentioned, and it relaxes our muscles. Currently, less than 30% of adults in the United States consume enough magnesium, according to the RDA. So get your fill with a bath a few times a month. So that Epsom salts bath is so important. And then morning stretches. You know, do some morning stretches before you have to work. I don't know what kinds of jobs you have, but my husband's family he is from Germany, and they are dairy farmers in Germany. And when we went there and stayed on the farm, we were responsible to get up and help with farming. And I can tell you that the first day of getting those cows in from the field and, you know, getting them all hooked up to the machine, and now they are automated, but when we were there, they were not automated. And getting them in and getting them out and squatting down and standing up and moving to the next one and up and down. The day after, I was like, I need to stretch today before I go out there. So, you know, do those morning stretches, simple, gentle stretches, so that you don't get injured while you are working. You know, moving things around and all of those kinds of chores that come with farming. So here are some self-care ideas for your body. So again, look at this list and pick out which one comes to mind for you. So I'll start with our room first. Michelle, I'm going to pick on you first.
I'm going to go with the make one small change to your diet for the week. I know weeks that I'm busy and I'm running here and there and everywhere, and I eat too much fast food, I always just feel, you know, locked down. And
That's right.
definitely eating the right things helps.
Eating the right things. And I'm sorry, I don't know that I never asked you your name. Krista? Krista, what's one thing that you do?
So I like to give your body a treat. We use a lot of essential oils, so I'll pick an essential oil that I really like, or, you know, in the morning I'm looking for it, or in the evening, and I'll put some, you know, coconut oil or put it on.
Nice.
Oh. I like the deep breathing and just taking a deep breaths to kind of recenter and relax.
Right, the deep breathing, and luckily at the last training I said, And when you breathe, as if you don't breathe all the time, but those deep breaths when you're intentional about our breathing. And our Reedsville group.
I'll start. Probably be still is a good one for me, but then also have a good laugh. I always enjoy, looking at the lighter side of things.
Absolutely. And laughing burns. If you laugh 5 minutes, you burn so many calories that then you can eat that piece of chocolate without feeling guilty. So laughing is good. And just being still in the moment. Just stop and stop everything and be still, right? Somebody else in the room.
I'll say going for a walk with my dogs, and that usually also ends up including a good laugh because we have a puppy right now, but I'm pretty good at making me laugh.
Well, you get three things all in one. Taking a walk, being with your pet, and laughing. What an awesome, few minutes that you afford yourself that are so important.
I think for me, just stopping and stretching. Like my job, I stand all day. I'm kind of bent over packing eggs, and just stopping and stretching and just giving myself 5 minutes. Like my new thing is like 5 minutes. I can stop for 5 minutes, or I can do anything for 5 minutes, and it just kind of gives you a break from whatever's bogging you down, and then you can kind of get back at it.
Absolutely. I think there might be one more person in Reedsville.
Okay, I'm going to show my age here, but get down and boogie.
I like that.
Well, I was a teenager in the age of discos, and I used to dance in the barn. And yeah, I don't do that now, but I'm thinking maybe I need to do this.
Exactly.
That's right, and just for you, stay alive, stay alive.
There you go. That's it.
So we must have been teenagers about the same time. No, but just doing that, or my mother-in-law's favorite thing was always to do the YMCA, so just doing that. Now everyone else will be looking at you like, what on earth, but absolutely, dancing, whether, whatever kind of dancing, just add some, add some dancing, which sometimes includes music, and sometimes you're playing that music in your head. All of these are great things. If you haven't done one of these things, or you're thinking, oh, well, I could just boogie a little bit, boogie on down when you're walking from one place to another. Good idea. Progressive muscle relaxation. So if you are doing this, I always do it in the opposite direction, but if you are sitting comfortably or laying out flat, I start by just thinking about your feet and just pay attention to your feet until your feet sort of start to get like a little bit tingly. And then think about your calves and just relax everything and think about your calves. And keep going, and now you're thinking about your thighs, and you're thinking about just totally relaxing, let everything go. And you work your way all the way up to the top of your head until you are just so completely relaxed and just feeling better than you did. Usually that progressive muscle relaxation, if you're not too overstressed and everything isn't too tight, maybe 10 or 15 minutes of just doing that. So whether it is, laying on a couch or a bed or a floor, if you're comfortable, or sitting in a chair and just completely relax. That sends all those good hormones, all those good things up to your brain, It gets rid of, it pushes out that bad cortisol, which, just does no good for our bodies or our health. And then some self-care tools. Make friends, find community. When we are connected to other people, we automatically start to feel better, as long as they're positive people. We talked about leaving your phone someplace other than where you are. Be mindful in the moment. Just take a moment to just, look at the daffodils growing if you're living in a place where the daffodils are starting to come up. Just take a moment to take a deep breath, to appreciate something around you that you can see. Repeat positive self-talk that I'm okay, I'm doing a good job, I can make a difference. Talking to yourself positively, that sounds really funny, but you say to your brain, which is thinking all the time, which is listening to you all the time, wow, that really didn't work out well. I must be so dumb. Oh, I can't believe I just did that. What was I thinking? The more negative things we say to ourselves, the more negative we feel. So repeat positive talks. When I was at the farm show and talking to a family that came up to the table, and I said to the little people, and they were like kindergarten, first, second grade, and I said to them, so what is something, that you do? And they said, my mom says we can't say I can't do it, but to say I can't do it right now. So take that negative thought that you have about yourself, I can't do this, to I just can't do it right now. Really important. Cultivate your creativity, whatever that is. Planting flowers, getting them to stay alive, drawing, coloring, knitting, helping other people, cooking, all of those things. Find what what is that creative side of you, and cultivate it. Connect and ask for help. There was some research done that says if you don't ask for help, all the help you're giving, you're doing in judgment. So don't be afraid to ask for help. If you're one of those people who are always able to help other people, don't be afraid to ask for help. There are times when we all need help, and if we just said, boy, I could really use some help, I'm really overwhelmed right now, and letting that person help. When you help someone, you feel better. When they help you, they feel better. So don't take that away from them, and revel in a job well done. When you do something, say, wow, this was a really productive day. I really did a great job at whatever that was. I heard someone say packing eggs, And so, wow, you only broke one today instead of 3. Wow, I did a really good job today. Probably don't break any eggs, but it's the only thing I could think of to say right here. So when we look at self-care for our soul, when you're thinking about what you're saying to yourself, when you're thinking about some of those really, really things that you can do, what's really good, imagine imagine that you're your best friend. So if you wouldn't say it to somebody else, don't say it to yourself. Use your commute to do a beauty scavenger hunt. So while you are driving, while you're out walking, what is beautiful? What did you see that was beautiful? Buds on a tree, a little bug that is not a spotted lanternfly. What can you do? Helping somebody, right? When we help people, we feel better, you know? But I'm not saying help somebody in place of taking care of yourself. Check with your emotions. How are you feeling? Sit down and think about, how am I feeling? You know, am I relaxed or am I stressed? Am I anxious? Am I worried or am I really happy about things? Keeping a journal, keeping index cards, writing it on sticky notes, write out your thoughts. Choose to spend time, like choose who you spend time with today. Stroking a pet. Get positive feedback. Give positive feedback. One of the child care centers that I went in, their bathroom had all these really great quotes, homes versus all of this stuff, but positive feedback to one another. Make small connections. You know, some of those small connections, you know, let's smile, holding the door open if it's electronic doors, you know, letting somebody go in front of you, smiling at somebody, saying hello to somebody, splurge a little bit, you know, add that extra flavor, you know, that costs another 10 cents to your coffee if you're a coffee drinker. Have a date with yourself. Make sure that you schedule that into your schedule. Exercise, take a home spa, ask for help, and plan a 2-day holiday for next weekend. So what can you do on the weekend? You don't have to go anywhere, just plan a holiday. Do something for yourself on the weekend that isn't catching up with everything that you put off because you're working and getting that done. It's still going to be there, I promise you. Every once in a while I do this, and if I do that work and don't give myself time, I still turn around and have dishes in the sink, and I'm wondering how could that have happened. So give yourself a holiday. Take care of yourself, because those dishes are going to be there whether you take care of them or not. They just jump back in the sink anyway. Practice relaxation techniques. When you practice relaxation techniques, here are all the benefits to that. Actually relaxing, exercising, lowers your fatigue. It reduces your frustration and anger. It improves your digestion and your mood and your concentration. It increases that blood flow to those muscles. And it doesn't get easier, but you get stronger and wiser. So think about good things. Think about what fuels you. You know, think about what 10 things bring you joy. You know, take the time to remember and write those things down. And the 5-4-3-2-1 is a breathing technique. It's really, really neat to do. So while you're breathing in, think of 5 things that you can see around you. Breathe in again and think of 4 things that you can touch. Breathe in again and think of 3 things that you can hear. Acknowledge 2 things that you can smell. And they may be real things that you can smell, or they may be things that bring you happiness. Like when you smelled vanilla, it always reminded you of. And then acknowledge 1 thing that you can taste. And again, it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be in your mouth, but if you're a coffee connoisseur, you know what a good cup of coffee tastes like, even if you're not drinking that good coffee. So an easy grounding technique that takes 5 or 10 deep breaths and some releasing that breath from you. And then thinking about how flexible you are. And I know I'm wrapping up right here, so our next presenter can go, but how flexible you are, and are you able to accept change positively and remain optimistic. And then if you're having those negative thoughts, catch those negative thoughts and turn them around. Stop it and then challenge yourself. What am I saying to myself? Change it up and then enjoy that moment and the feeling that you have just created. And then when we're adapting to change, here we go again with create that support system. Who is that support person or support people for you? Who do you go if you're feeling like this, and who can you talk to if you're feeling like this? Those conversations are so important for both you and the person you're sharing with. And then try it for yourself. Find humor, find out what's causing you stress, focus on those positive outcomes so that you can break that catastrophizing thoughts. And then hope. Hope is what we feel when we think that life is worth living and that our work is worth doing. And hope is what we have when we have positive relationships with our existence. And hope is the deepest of the three emotions. And happiness and optimism can't exist without hope. But hope can exist without happiness or optimism. So some little quotes. Did they get that? No. Okay. So hope is our energy and our fuel for living. And hope exists. When hope exists, we engage with our environment more. We give more of ourselves to what we do, as does everyone else around us. And then cultivating wellness. Recognize that we all need to cultivate our wellness. And being outside can reduce that stress when we are thinking about the positive things around us. And in order to be a more effective part of a hopeful world, take good care of your health and have a stress reduction strategy. Write it down. What of these things might you take away? And so I don't know if anyone has questions, but if you do,
please ask them now. Cynthia will not be staying with us all day. So if you have questions, we're going to have some time later on for open discussion, but Cynthia has to leave for another meeting. So if you have any questions or need any information from her, ask away now, and I will be sure to send her presentation to everyone.
And then I know in your folder there was information on the AgriStress helpline. It is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it is manned by trained professionals. And so if you don't have that connection or you really need to talk to somebody, use that. And the people at the AgriHealth Stress Line are experienced with talking to farmers as opposed to if you just call a general stress line number.